Hey everyone, it's Elaine Hamilton from the Reiki Center, and I am doing a little bit of a commentary here on Sadhguru's comment around Reiki. Reiki being bad because you're taking on people's karmic patterns in his book, Mystic Musings, and it's since been popping up on YouTube. I commented on this when I first came across it a while ago, but I thought it would be a good idea to maybe just start correcting some of the misunderstandings around Reiki, particularly from people who are quite well known. So, therefore, when somebody makes a comment like this, someone like Sadhguru, who has many thousands of followers, then it starts to set a certain misunderstanding around Reiki. And so this was put to him by a question around alternative therapies, first of all. And I'll put a link in the interaction, on the interaction at the bottom of this. But essentially, the questioner was asking about alternative therapies, talking about therapies like acupuncture, shiatsu, Reiki, aura healing, about how they affect you as a practitioner. So, according to Mystic Musings, he was writing that if you are dealing with energy healing, then you take on other people's karmic patterns. So, obviously, that's quite concerning because you don't want to be taking on other people's karma. And then Satguru replies by basically saying there's a difference. He's not talking about therapies like acupuncture or acupressure or I guess he's also not talking about medical systems, Ayurveda, Chinese medicine. So he's talking about energy healing. So I have questions around that as well. That kind of doesn't make logical sense to me. Why is Reiki different in his mind? I'm not able to ask him that question directly, but he seems to think that when you are giving energy healing, that you are dealing with somebody's karma. And when you're giving massage or giving them medicine or surgery, then you are not. So that begs lots of questions in my mind. Like, why is one so-called meddling system okay and another so-called meddling system not okay? The big questions around that. So that feels illogical to me. So working with something like Reiki, it feels like what he's saying is you are then manipulating their energy or moving their energy or doing something with meddling. Okay, I can see it. Meddling with another person's life process without knowing the whole of it. So many comments around this. So when we give Reiki to someone, we're not meddling. When we give Reiki to somebody, we are filling the person up with universal energy. So the universal energy is the energy that is present in our environment, in our system. It's simply the universal life force. That life force is flowing already in the person and out of the person. By giving somebody a Reiki treatment, what we're doing is we are filling that person up with life force energy. We are not taking anything out of the person. We are not meddling in any way with the person's system. We are purely filling the person up with a life force energy that then allows that person to do whatever work they need to do. So as a Reiki practitioner, my job is to open to the life force, to Reiki, to flow through my hands into that person. I am not moving that person's energy. Now, I do know, and I know in India, which I'm guessing is where his experience is of Reiki, there's a big overlap between Reiki and other forms of energy healing, such as pranic healing. Now, pranic healing, I don't know a lot about this, but it seems to me that in pranic healing, there's a lot of pushing and pulling of energy. They have a big salt kind of bucket at the bottom of the bed, and they throw the energies into the salt bucket to neutralize it, and they kind of take energy out and they put energy in. It's so in that respect, I understand what he's saying, that there is a manipulation of energy that is happening, and the practitioner needs to be quite skilled in what he's doing, much like a surgeon, or much like an acupuncturist, or much like somebody who's doing massage. So these are also manipulations of energy. Like an acupuncturist is also manipulating energy through the use of needles. A surgeon is also manipulating energy by removal of organs. So how this can be okay, I just don't understand. So this is okay and doesn't mess with karmic laws, and yet filling somebody up with a natural, like naturally occurring life force is not okay and messing with karmic forces. So I don't know. Just don't know. I don't really understand what he's trying to say. He then goes on to say that it's ego, wanting to play God. Now, I do feel that people in any healing modality can get quite enamored with the power that they can sometimes exude over people when they are encouraging people to come to them for healing and rely on them for healing. I totally agree. I think that when you get yourself into that state where you feel that people should come to you because you can help them more than other people, or you can help them more than they can help themselves, then you definitely have an ego problem, and you are definitely trying to play God. And then that kind of karmic whatever, but that's your karma. That's not you taking on someone else's karma. So again, that kind of doesn't make sense to me, because karma is just cause and effect. So if you start to act like you are superior over somebody else, then that is going to have karmic ramifications, right? It's cause and effect. But if I am in this industry, or even as a surgeon, or even as an Ayurvedic practitioner, I can be equally damaging by telling people they need to sign up for this many things, and they need to do this, and they need to eat this foods, and if they don't eat this foods, then this will happen. And I can be equally damaging in any modality. And frankly, he's also in a very damaging position of power as somebody that set himself up as a guru. That's acting a lot more godly than being a Reiki practitioner, putting my hands on somebody and just opening to a balancing of that person's energy, should they wish to take it, should they wish to do something with it, but it's totally up to them anyway. For me, this is massive projection on his part. I just don't feel that what he's saying has any basis on what the actual essence of Reiki is. And it also makes me think that he has had a very limited understanding or education around Reiki and what we're doing. Again, it's understandable. I will do a video on Vipassana as well, because they have equally a bizarre interpretation of what Reiki is. And I do think that that's partly cultural, because I think that Reiki as practiced in India is very different to the Reiki that, say, I practice or is practiced in a lot of other countries around the world. So I understand that there's also a confusion around people's experience. So he might be referring to a very specific form of Reiki that perhaps is practiced, whereby you as a Reiki practitioner are somehow meddling in somebody else's energy through the pushing and pulling of energy that you decide you're pushing and pulling against. Now, if that's happening in the kind of Reiki that he's talking about, then I tend to agree with him. I'm not quite sure about taking on of other people's karmic whatever, that's his opinion. But I do think that you could end up in a situation where you could damage someone's energy system more than help them if you're pulling and pushing at the wrong thing, or if you're creating a relationship of dependence, that person starts to depend on you for their healing, or you start to disempower them in some way because you insist that they need to come to you for healing because they can't do it themselves. But as you guys know, Reiki, the way that I see it, is a self-empowerment system, which means that the person is the one doing the healing, not the practitioner. The practitioner is there as a hose pipe for Reiki. And me, as the person receiving that Reiki, I allow that flow in, and then my body's wisdom decides how to harmonize my body. The practitioner does not decide how to harmonize my body. And if you have been a Reiki practitioner, you kind of know this, right? Like, yes, you can use the symbols to make the Reiki go more, to flow more into the person, maybe, like, but you can't really do anything else with it. And if you are doing something else with it, then it's probably not Reiki that you're doing. Like, if you are pulling energy out, or if you are feeling that you're pushing energy into certain places that you decide, then I would kind of say, maybe stop doing that. Like, what are you doing that for? And how do you know that that is to the person's highest good? So if you are getting into situations where you feel that then yeah, that's not really the Reiki that I'm referring to. So the Reiki I'm referring to is universal life force, which has a natural balancing influence all on its own. And that plus the person's innate wisdom, the person receiving the healing's innate wisdom, that is how the Reiki works within that person's body system. It's as simple as that. So I am not meddling in someone else's system. I'm certainly not meddling more than if I was taking out an organ or, or giving them medication or like sticking needles into them. And yet somehow that's okay. So yeah, that's my little commentary on this short video of Sadhguru's comment around Reiki and not doing it. So he's suggesting that we shouldn't be giving other people Reiki because we are taking on other people's karma. And I would say that that is utter nonsense. And certainly not the Reiki that I teach, and certainly not the Reiki that I practice. So if he's referring to another form of Reiki, fair enough. But then maybe he needs to be a bit more specific rather than blanketing the entire modality with a very short and rather kind of brutal proclamation. If we're talking about playing God, perhaps proclamations are not really the way to go, particularly around things that you might not know everything about. So I will leave it at that, and I will be making similar commentaries on other people that have also made comments about Reiki that are wildly inaccurate. And so, yeah, let's clean this up a bit, guys. Like, if you're going to make wildly inaccurate accusations around Reiki, at least have the decency to know what you're talking about. With that, I will end and see you next time. Bye.